Hello, and welcome to episode 19 of the Flowing Through Film podcast. This week we are continuing our journey through early Studio Ghibli with Porco Rosso and Pom Poko, another Miyazaki Takahata double feature because we're skipping Ocean Waves. But we'll just go ahead and start
with Ocean Waves the first non-Miyazaki Takahata Ghibli movie?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
I am fairly confident because we've done every Ghibli movie up until Ocean Waves, so.
Oh, okay.
So yes. But we can go ahead and just get right into Porco Rosso because we don't need to spend more time on Ocean Waves than it needs.
What year is this? 1992?
Yes, 92, right after Only Yesterday. The interesting thing about this is that Miyazaki started working on this while they were still working on Only Yesterday, and he actually hired his own staff of all female animators, which Suzuki said in his memoirs was not something done ever in the animation
So this was the first movie where they did that?
Yeah, and that's why if you recognize or if you remember in Porco Rosso the scene where they go and get his plane fixed and all the workers in there are women, that's a big callback to just Ghibli at the time, with that was basically Miyazaki and his women and his workers basically working on Porco Rosso.
Because he did that in kind of Kiki's too, you said.
Yeah, he did that in Kiki's as well because they had a lot of female animators in that one as well.
That is a great scene in Porco Rosso.
In Porco Rosso.
Is there a specific reason why he wanted female?
Plus, it kind of feels realistic just in the movie's context too, because a lot of people were at war.
Yeah,
a lot of men
it makes sense. It makes sense because that's just what it was in World War I, World War II. Men went off to war, and the women had to work in the factories and help.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And Miyazaki knew.
Sometimes factories building planes too.
Yes, and Miyazaki would know a lot about that with his family being.
Yeah.
Plane manufacturers. Mm-hmm. So
we're kind of skipping.
Yeah, we are just going way off. So let's just start with. Well, I guess we can just start with how Miyazaki even started this movie was just he started with not even just the storyboards. They started with the key animation first, so he already animated before, and then they added the plot after, basically. So that's the first time that they ever did that in Studio Ghibli, and that's something that Miyazaki would do basically every movie after this, and that's why a lot of people criticize his plots getting off the rails because he starts with the.
That's interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah,
he
starts with
that.
Oh my god!
Honestly, though, with Porco Rosso,
it makes so much sense, though.
Yeah. It does. Yeah.
With Porco Rosso, it works because Porco Rosso is just a character. You kind of you need the character first before you build the story around. That's how Porco Rosso is.
And he had the character first because this was another one where Miyazaki wrote manga for Porco Rosso before this one also. So he already had his character planned out.
The idea of what he's going to be.
Okay. And they were contracted actually or partnered with one of I think it was one of Japan's major airlines. I can't remember right now what airline company it was. But this movie idea started because that airline company wanted Miyazaki to make it in a short that they could play for their for just everyone flying it to Japan. This is a quick 45-minute short that they could
45
play.
45 minutes?
Yes.
Oh my God.
And then Miyazaki and Toshio Suzuki were like, yeah, we can do that. And then Miyazaki started working on it, and of course he was like, yeah, no, we're gonna need a full movie for this. It was the exact same thing with Kiki. Two movies in a row where it was supposed to start off as a 45-minute short, and they had instead ballooned into a
Did they ever end up making a movie for them?
No, yeah, they still partnered with him. They still put this movie on planes. This is still on planes, and that's why Porco Rosso is so interesting. How it took so long to get out of Japan because it wasn't translated or dubbed for a long time, which was odd because first off the subject matter is very European. I mean the setting's Italian and everything. Yeah. I mean the freaking the main villain's American and they have fisticuffs at the very end. It's very a Western movie for sure.
It's not a very airplane commercial movie. That's why I never would have guessed that.
No, but that's the interesting part is that they actually did have the Studio Ghibli translated everything for the planes. So the only people that had seen this from the West before it came out were people that were going to Japan because they could watch Porco Rosso on the plane.
Yeah.
But I guess that we can actually get into the actual movie now because it starts off just right in action with. This actually starts off a lot like Castle in the Sky with just basically a kidnapping.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, actually, it starts off with him just chilling at
his beach, hearing the radio. Yeah,
and he has a little cinema magazine on his face.
Yeah.
So yeah, that it seems like a cool place just to hang out.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Seems like a great place to just live and hide out,
But I know what you're talking about. The actual start.
Yes, the actual start is a lot like House in the Sky. In my opinion.
I was gonna say that. Yes.
Yeah, where it just starts with the chase.
I want to ask who has the better pirates? Because they're very.
Well, see, that's actually I was actually gonna bring that up with This is literally just like Cast in the Sky if the pirates were actually the bad guys.
Yeah.
Because the pirates in this movie are literally like the Dola gangs. They're just
That's why it's not like a really. Such a light movie.
Yeah.
There's not even really bad guys. Like
not really.
He has a lot of love for the bad guys in this movie.
Yes,
as well.
he likes the air pirates as much as he doesn't like them. And it's so funny because like even the children in this movie, like they get kidnapped and they're like,
they don't even take it
like,
seriously.
are we being kidnapped?
Exactly.
And they're like,
God.
yes, you're being kidnapped. They're like, yay, we're being
Yeah.
kidnapped.
No, that's how you know, right?
Yeah,
It's like,
that's how I know you're
really
on like a super serious.
And just
movie
the
where you have
shot,
to worry
like
about
after
shit.
he rescues them and they're all like sitting on his plane.
Yeah,
and they
right.
fly, like,
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's a great.
Like,
That's a great scene.
It's so good, dude. And then like, it goes right into that to just him. He flies to the bar after that, right?
Yes, I think that's.
And that's whenever we first go to that.
We actually see the bad guys, all talking.
Yeah, all of them talking, and we see Gina for that's her name, I think.
Yes, that's her name.
Gina for the first time.
Yeah.
And this is a very like, at least to me, very much feels like Casablanca.
See, I need to that would make sense. I need to rewatch it. I knew it felt like it had that classic Hollywood feel to it.
It feels a lot
thinking
like
the movie
classic
felt like
Hollywood.
Yeah. And just like, I love Porco Rosso, just like how like cool he is. Like,
Yes,
at the bar.
exactly.
Like,
Yeah,
it's just it's like hilarious to watch. Like,
See, he's got some Humphrey Bogart kind of vibes
sure.
to him.
Yeah.
For sure.
No, he's awesome. No, we honestly should just talk about Porco Rosso for a second because like,
Character.
well, what do you guys think? Why did Miyazaki? I mean, I can tell you why, but because like at least his bullshit answer of why, because I don't think that's the real reason he made him a pig. But why do you guys think Porco Rosso is a pig?
Okay, well, we were just talking about this a little before the podcast. I just thought it was a good representation of, honestly, just to show like a simple way of a guy that's not in his prime anymore, getting into middle age, and you can kind of, in the Miyazaki world, this is natural.
Yeah.
He's still walking around like a normal person and everything.
Yeah.
So, and honestly, I can't think of a better reason. The design is just so good. I have to think for some reason it was because of the design, like how.
that's
well
what
they
I'm
were able to
thinking
do
too.
The design
Like,
is just
I don't
so
have a
good.
better answer than that.
Like they were just challenging themselves. Like, what's the non-coolest animal we could somehow make cool?
Yeah.
And
Pretty
it was
much.
a
And it
pig.
works.
And it works. No, and because the first thing I think of when I'm thinking of him this time is because initially you basically only see him sitting down, or you see him in the plane basically.
Yeah.
And so he's like sitting down like almost the whole time. And he looks kind of. You'd think he would be as short as a pig, but then when you see him standing up for the first time, he's actually tall. He's like, okay, this guy's actually.
He's not as tall as like the normal humans.
Maybe a
but
girl
yeah.
would still actually find him attractive in this world. He's not like a total pig.
Not a total pig. He's a pig with virtue, dude.
Yeah, and he's tall though. That's what I was like. He's got some height to him.
And just the fact that they like they mention he got turned to a pig from a spell, but then they like never like talk.
Yeah,
like,
or
go
curse
over
or
it again.
something,
Like, yeah, like just never go into it.
Yeah,
No.
like you think like
Yeah.
it could be a movie where they're gonna try to get the curse back kind of thing. Like Shrek or something.
Yeah, like Shrek. Okay, I
Or
can
a
get
classic
behind this
fairy
being the
tale
first
where
Shrek.
it kind of feels like a classic. That is like a classic fairy tale thing where there's a curse and you turn into.
Yes,
animal or
that's a
something.
classic fairy tale.
But that's what the
yes,
story
I
would
mean,
be
Miyazaki
about.
even plays into this with the girl asking, like, if I give you a kiss, will you turn back into
Yeah,
a man?
yeah, exactly. Yes.
Like he knows what I mean. He knows like.
But that's
what
the
he's
thing.
trying
All
to
of
do
it's
with
so
this, for sure.
light. All of it's so
Yeah.
like it's not serious at the same time.
Yeah,
Even
like
if there's some deep moments for sure.
there are deep moments, and like one of the best things I think is like Miyazaki didn't want to make this movie like about lust or anything like stupid like that, because like you could see like a lesser director making Porco Rosso actually have a love interest with the 17-year-old girl that he takes with him to a private island basically.
Oh,
But like this one, it's just like literally just a wholesome partnership basically, where she's just coming along for the ride basically, fixing his plane for him.
No,
I don't know. I feel like that could definitely.
and there's
been, like,
another
handled
love
worse.
interest too, which makes it better. Obviously. Like,
There's an actual love
yeah,
interest. So.
and like the whole time Porco Rosso does act like that, where
Yes.
you can tell he does like Gina still.
Yes, he does deep down, and like he liked it first, obviously.
Yeah.
With all those flashback scenes of him as a
No,
human.
exactly.
So.
Yeah. And she's basically the only one that remembers him as a human too, which is really
Yeah, like
important
basically everyone else has
important
died.
item-
So.
Yeah, it's an important thing in the movie.
It also feels a lot like Top Gun in that, and like
Oh,
it definitely
I
feels
honestly
a lot like Top
thought
Gun.
of that. I thought of that
Okay,
a little bit. Like,
I didn't think about
at least like because I was thinking we kind of talked about it maybe off. I think probably off a couple podcasts about Top Gun actually making plane fights look interesting.
Yeah.
And this one does a pretty good job too.
Oh yeah.
Even though I wanted to save it for the ending, but I'll just mention it now that even Miyazaki had to understand, like, to really end a fight scene, you have to do it on the ground, fisticuff, basically.
Yeah.
Because that's more interesting than, a plane fight. You want to see the people. You want to see Porco Rosso. You want to see him fight,
Yes.
Like, you want to see the whole character.
I love that ending.
It's a great ending, too, yeah.
It even has a...
They have to get out of the plane.
Yeah. Show off flyby scene.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he's got some great flyby scenes.
Like Top Gun.
No, this is definitely where, like, Miyazaki's had movies where he has, like every movie, Nausicaa, Kiki's, Castle in the Sky have all had flying in them, but this is the first movie where it's like he just loves planes, and you can tell.
Like, see, that's the thing, dude. Planes are so cinematic.
Yes,
that's why Top Gun is has great plane scenes. But it's hard to do like a really good plane fight and keep it interesting,
It is, yeah.
But he does it.
I think he does it in this one.
A lot of it. Even then, like they just start throwing things at each other at one point, which is funny.
That's what makes That's why I love. That's why I love the ending of this movie, because it's like, you think that they're going to try to shoot each other down like an actual dogfight, and they do, but then their guns jam.
Yeah, no.
Both of their guns jam.
Well, but and when you rewatch it, because I was rewatching it.
Yeah, both of us were.
And when to take it not seriously the whole time.
Yeah.
Because maybe the first time as you watch it, you're thinking, oh, he's trying to tell a good story, or like whatever someone would call a good movie is.
A classic Hollywood movie,
Yeah, a more like a straightforward Casablanca, where it's not more self-aware like this one is. But once you realize what he's trying to do, where everything's supposed to be light, and like what you say about making a plane commercial movie too, or at least how it starts like that, it kind of makes sense in that way too.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be like too heavy or serious of a movie.
No, the only heavy moments are like, there are like the flashback war sequences, and I think that those moments were mostly just because, like, I know the war in Yugoslavia started during the production of this movie, so like that, and that's very close to where they were like setting the movie, and so that actually like influenced Miyazaki a little bit, and that's like a little bit of the darker stuff comes from that time period, or like from that war. And the reason the American pilots, or the main villain in quotations is an American pilot, is because like the Gulf War started like literally the year before, I think, also in 1991, right? I think the Gulf War, like, we started our operation.
Yes,
I
see what you're saying.
Yeah, like we started that like right around then. So like Miyazaki had, like, there are reasons like why this gets a little dark in some moments.
But you have to read into that. Like,
you have to know what was going on.
Yeah, you have to know. Like, on the surface, it could just be, he's American because he's,
Yeah, and those flashbacks lead to like one of the most beautiful like animated plane moments with like plane heaven, basically.
Oh
my
god.
god.
Yeah, we should. That's one of the great.
Like,
that's the thing. He has a lot of different great plane moments too.
Yes.
Like, honestly, just from like the opening scene of him just flying by himself too.
Yeah,
I think it's after the first fight.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, after the first fight.
That's honestly one of his best shots in general. Like,
which one? The plane heaven scene?
Yeah, the plane heaven scene is one of Miyazaki's best shots in general.
Yeah.
Honestly, like,
it is, because like the first time I watched that, whenever I saw that, I just thought it was like the Milky Way or something, and then it gets like a little closer, and you see it's like planes.
Yes.
Like, oh my god.
But that's literally what it looks like when it looks like just a bunch of stars up there.
It does.
And then like he looks closer and he sees it's plane heaven, and then he sees all of his comrades flying up, and then he starts sinking back below the clouds, going back down. That whole scene is just like a fever dream, kind of like also kind of like his Castle in the Sky scene whenever the boy's dad finds Laputa for the first time. No one believes him, because it's very much like that scene too.
Okay.
Where it's like you don't know if it's like completely real or not. Like it feels like a hallucination for sure.
It feels real to Porco though.
Oh yes, it is real to Porco.
Yes,
obviously,
exactly,
it is real to Porco.
Yeah.
Like this is his version of heaven. It's their version of Valhalla. Like you die in your plane, you go to there.
And it's just so amazingly done. Like where the plane is like basically just from flying to floating.
From flying to floating.
There's
there's an entire world above the clouds.
Yeah,
it's interesting too. Like in comparison to a different movie, the Michael Powell and Emmerich Pressburger movie, A Matter of Life and Death. It's basically that, but on the when all the soldiers are getting to heaven.
Oh, okay.
Basically, which I thought of in that moment.
It must have been, at least a common experience among soldiers that survived and seeing so many other people die.
Maybe.
Maybe not this exact dream or anything, but that.
Yeah, they might have just seen something.
Yeah.
Like nerves get to you in the moment, and they might you never know what people see in war.
And it's just a good way of, at least, not without getting too deep, representing that Porco's still has all this past to him.
Like this is probably that's at least the moment where you realize this is probably at least partially what caused his pig formation. His that's why I asked why a pig, and I think it's just because he's disenfranchised of humanity basically.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I go to, because it also could be
with the famous quote.
Yes, the bearer picked the fascist.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
like yes, that is
Yeah.
a great quote, and it is definitely like that's definitely like one of the reasons why I think they make Porco a pig is because he is disenfranchised with humanity because he's seen what he thinks is the worst of it. And this is also like one of Miyazaki's worlds where you could see it being like actually set in the real world, you know,
Yeah,
like because
it
everything
does.
that happens in this could have happened in the real
Yes.
world, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I do love that part about it too because it's not just a fantastical movie, you know,
Yes.
whimsical movie because it does have realist moments in it too.
It does feel. Is this? Yeah, because Totoro does have the more magical aspects, even though
Yes.
it's still more grounded.
Yeah.
But this one, even though it's more romantic, it's more like a classic
Yes,
Hollywood movie.
it is,
It's
yeah.
still grounded, like a Hollywood.
Literally grounded.
It feels
Literally
more
grounded.
live action, but it's still very romantic too.
Yes, it is. Yeah,
It's honestly a little different than a lot of his other movies.
yeah. So
And
far it is.
the reason why I wanted to bring that up was because I watched the Kingdom of Dreams and Madness Ghibli documentary
Yes.
yesterday, and he mentions that, and he said this as like a negative, but he said all my movies up to Porco Rosso had been made for kids, but Porco Rosso is obviously not made for kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was like regretting it. I was like, that's why I kind of like it, you know?
Yeah.
It does.
And
Kinda
the thing
feel like
is
a
that
little
you could
different.
like I would show this to my kid in a heartbeat because
Oh,
they'd
yeah,
have a ball with it no matter what.
Oh, yeah.
But like this does like it is Miyazaki's first adult movie for sure.
You could
like,
see maybe the kid gets bored a little bit if they're kind of young, you know?
Yeah, I can see it.
Like-
I don't really think
Maybe
so.
with like the romance stuff for sure. Yeah.
There's
It's
layers
just a
to
little
it.
slower movie. Kind
Yeah,
of.
it can't. It can be. I think
In a
most of
good
the
way
time. I
for
think
me,
most of
but
the time it's. I
honestly-
think most of the time it's pretty like quick and fast.
The kids who watch this are probably going to be amused enough with just how Porco Rosso
Yes,
looks.
that
Like,
too.
Okay. That's
And I mean,
really
like,
matter.
like I laugh so hard whenever him and I can't remember the 17-year-old girl's name, the mechanic, but whenever Porco and her arrive back at the island, and then all the pirates are just waiting there, and then they like attack him and like hold them up. And then you just hear, like, up on the cliff, someone say, not so fast or something, and then the American's just standing there, and they just jumps down
Yes.
from the
Oh,
cliff,
yes.
and I'm just like, oh, what even is this
that
movie
was funny,
anymore?
yeah.
Like, I just remember dying laughing at that moment both times, because I watched this in theaters.
It's a pretty
at the
high
time.
ball too. So
It is, and I was like, okay.
that's like
this
the
is
most unrealistic thing that happens in the movie.
Like, how you not break
No.
your ankles, man? No, the most unrealistic part is all those pirates hiding in that one tent.
Okay, no, there's some unrealistic parts.
Oh,
for
this,
sure,
yeah, no, he goes whimsical a lot. I love it.
Because that reminds me of like the ending, which is unrealistic but in a good way, where like the last ending in a maybe even a normal animated kids movie would have a real fight scene between there would obviously be a main villain sea pirate, which is the American, but all the there would actually be a battle with some of the obviously other pirates. But in this one, she just gives a speech. And they're like, oh, that is a good point. Maybe it should just be a one-on-one fight or something.
Yeah.
And they let it happen,
They let it happen. They're taking bets the whole time. It's hilarious.
And they just kind of become one of the audience, honestly, like us. Like
They are, and because they're literally just watching, and then the sea pirates are saying like Porco's got this in the bag because he's just waiting and playing with him right now.
Yeah,
and then they're like, why is this taking so long? And he's up there like, oh my god, my guns are jammed, and then both their guns jammed, and then they just start throwing everything at each other.
Yeah, that's when we lead to the fight.
And then they land, and have fisticuffs, throw fisticuffs, and that's honestly just a perfect way to like end that fight. You have to have fisticuffs to end it. Without
well,
anyone
honestly,
dying,
really, how it
but-
really ends is he hears her voice, and that's what gets him to stand up.
Yeah,
because they
that's
both
true, yeah.
because really none of them they both KO each other out.
Yeah, they do. They do. And then like after that, the Air Force comes.
Yeah, they're like, oh, we all have to go. My free drinks in my
Yes,
bar. Like
free drinks in my bar. We all have to go. And then what? After that, I think doesn't she? I think the mechanic
it's kind
kisses
of got a
her.
bittersweet ending.
It's not even like I don't think it's bittersweet. I think it's like just like she kisses him, and then like
Well, no, because remember Gina's like, I want you to come with me.
Yeah.
But he's like, no. He puts the girl on her plane
Yeah.
with Gina, and they both fly off. And then the narrator, which is the girl older, she says, me and Gina became really good friends,
Yeah.
but I never saw Porco again.
yeah.
And then she said, and then it actually ends with, I guess, it's like a shot of her garden where it says, but it's a secret whether or not they actually got back together or something, or if they saw each other again.
Yeah,
something like that.
but there's also the ending. I don't know if that's the actual ending or if the actual ending, because I thought the actual ending is whenever like the last shot is whenever she kisses him and then he starts walking back to his plane, and then the American pilot looks at him and goes like, "Wait, let me see your face."
No, there's because there's a whole narration and stuff after.
Yeah, I know there's the narration stuff after that,
Yeah,
but that's like
I
the
know what
part
you're
I was
talking
talking
about. I
about
know what
because
you're
that's
talking
like that's
about.
like
Yes,
whenever
yes,
like
yes.
he
You'll
doesn't
have it confused.
he doesn't want you like for sure to know if he's still a pig or not, but he
Oh, okay.
because like like he kisses or she kisses him and
See, I always thought it would be Gina though. That's why I was like,
I always thought it'd be
okay.
Gina.
It has to be Gina though, right? That's how the whole movie was.
I don't know. I think it could be her, just because she's also the only one that saw him, saw him as a human in the entire movie. Like besides Gina before,
that.
but like
Yeah,
whenever they're laying,
yes,
whenever they're laying at the bench, or at the beach, she thinks that
yes.
for a split second she thinks that he's a human again.
I just think that Porco Rosso is a character that doesn't need to end up with anyone. I don't know. That's just kind of how he is.
Yeah, that's the thing. I kind of saw like he's still kind of a loner at heart kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
You know.
He's
But
just
do you that's a better question is, or at least another question is, do you think they ended up did he actually go and see Gina again?
Yeah.
Or why would he never talk to the girl again?
Maybe he just don't want to.
Yeah.
That's kind of weird.
It's kind of unpredictable. I don't know.
That's the thing. That's
it's
exactly.
different.
It's like he doesn't leave on a bad note with her or anything. So it is kind of weird. Like he does. It's not unbelievable for the character. He does feel like that kind of guy.
Yeah, he definitely is that kind of guy to just never see the woman he loves again. Yes.
Yeah.
It's Gina though.
It's Gina. Though.
It's gotta be. Because the movie kind of ends with I don't know if they. Basically, I think
they do too.
That they do see each other in that.
I think they do. Yes.
Probably.
They fly off together.
Well, that kind of I'm kind of jumping back, but that kind of reminds me of that scene with the American pilot where he's basically like, "Oh yeah, I definitely know. When I go back, I already have a Hollywood script ready for me. I'm going to become a star, and I'm going to become president."
Yeah. He has his whole life plan.
Yeah.
The Ronald Reagan plan, as it's called.
Even though I don't think Ronald Reagan was a pilot, though, was he?
Only
the Hollywood star.
Yeah, no, only the Hollywood star part. Yeah.
This guy's already got a Ronald Reagan beat.
He was a war hero first. No, okay, so I guess we can go ahead and end Porco Rosso there and go.
Okay, you don't have any final thought? Like, what is this one of your favorites?
So Porco Rosso is one of my favorites. Yes, it's in the A tier for me.
We'll have to rank them all at the end.
Yeah, it's in the A tier for me. Like
Okay.
like A tier, not B tier, not S tier, but it's
Not
like
S tier.
strictly in the A tier. Like it's a very I could put this on any time and have just a great time. You know, I don't think it's too deep. I think there are moments that are like really deep and that are really sweet and stuff. But I don't think it's like too deep, and that's why I think I just put it on any time and just watch it and have fun. But
to go off that and to kind of transition to our next movie, it's just amazing that this one's only like 90 minutes, dude.
it's true.
It's like that's another reason why it would be so easy to put on.
Yeah.
Compared to this next one that I also like that we're about to talk about, which does get kind of longish.
I disagree. No, we're going to go into Takahata's Pom Poko. But I guess you guys.
Do you have any intro, any facts or anything? You want
Yeah, no, I have some facts for sure. But I mean, have you guys noticed any like main theme in Takahata's movies through these first three that we watched?
Maybe nature having
I would
to
say
adapt to humans.
environmentalism.
Well, definitely environmentalism.
Yeah.
But I'm just talking. I liked what you said about Grave of the Fireflies 2 weeks ago of like what's buried beneath, because that's definitely like what I think every movie he's done so far is like at least maybe not exactly what's buried beneath, but at least what we've lost
or what you're leaving behind by this future.
Yes, like the cost of progress, if you may.
Yes,
Like that's
okay,
a huge that's the main part about this. The main theme of this movie is like what is the cost of human expansion and progress, and that's why like I didn't think Pom Poko was the greatest studio. I thought it was like mid sounds bad, but I thought it was mid Studio Ghibli before. Like the first time I watched this, like I think a lot of people consider it mid Studio Ghibli because they do think it is too long. They think it can get boring. I mean, it's also just a really weird movie about Tanuki with fucking testicles that can enlarge and they can do literally anything they want with them.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It grew on me a lot this time, and I honestly want to say it grew on me just because I don't know if people have a problem with like Takahata's like educating you and just talking specifically to you that he does in a lot of his movies, but in this movie specifically, he does it a lot. Like it feels like a documentary a lot. Like it feels like he's doing like an educational documentary in this movie a lot.
At certain points, definitely.
Especially the opening. Like the opening, you can like, it's like a nature documentary almost. Like of like humans taking over nature.
That's kind of what I like. Those are the stuff I like the most. Yeah. To me, I'll just start with what I like the least, because I do like most of the movie. And I love the ideas in it, and the ending is honestly to me it's just amazing ending.
Yeah.
But like what I like the least kind of is just honestly the tonal shifts in the movie, where some of it just feels like too almost for kids, like just almost over the top cartoony, and then some of it is like really serious, like you're saying. some of it's like just almost straight documentary where he is like, but documentary in a good way. Like, I think you said he made a documentary for Ghibli.
Yeah, no, he did.
Like
that was
a
like
serious
the
documentary, right?
Yeah,
like
a 3-hour. It was a 3-hour long documentary.
He could actually do something like that, you know.
Yeah.
So do you wish he like stuck with one of them then? Like
yes, maybe less of the whole cartoony kid stuff, basically. And I think you have something about that because you were telling us, or how they had to add stuff to the movie, or it wasn't everything he wanted to do with it.
No,
you were just saying something about that.
No, Miyazaki didn't like the title of the movie. He didn't like Pom Poko because he didn't like the title Pom Poko because he thought that it was too light of a title for the subject matter Takahata was tackling.
Oh, okay.
Because like I guess that he brought it up a lot, like to the point where Suzuki had to send out like a memo to the company saying we're sticking with Pom Poko. Stop saying stuff about it.
It was like Miyazaki spreading.
Yeah, so it was like Miyazaki doing it, but Suzuki had to like send out a memo saying we're sticking with Pom Poko. But because Takahata just loved the way that like apparently like whenever the Tanuki would like clap their bellies like while they were animating, it would sound like Pom Poko, so they wanted to name it Pom Poko. But I kind of disagree with the childlike stuff because like what are you talking about? Like what parts are you?
And
talking
I kind of
about?
see it where he's trying to say like it's and I don't mind it. It just he goes back to it too much where it's like we have to see the raccoons. You know, we get that they're not as disciplined as the foxes. You know, they lose focus all the time. Like they think they won and they lose the next day or something. Like it happens multiple times.
I like that stuff though.
And they
because that's I like that stuff a lot. Because
I like it, but
feels
it goes
like
to even like what I said multiple times. Both of those things.
No, I like it a lot because it does feel like what animals are just like. Like they live for the moment more than humans.
Okay,
like they think like if they do something like this and then the news comes out, like I could see animals being like this because they do live more like for the day, for the moment. Like they don't think for the future like humans do. And like that's one thing that especially in this movie, I think there's even like a thing whenever it's actually the part where there's the gods sitting on the hills like overlooking the new town, like New Tokyo, New Town, as it's being like built, and the Tanuki, or I think it's one of the Tanuki were voiceover like for it saying, I used to think the humans were just like us, but now I think they're more like gods because only gods can do like what they're doing basically. And like that's why I love it so much because Takahata is coming at it from a point of view that most people I just don't think get that much. And we need more of stuff like this of coming at from nature's point of view because it's only gotten worse.
Yeah.
Than the 20 years since this movie's come out. Like we are so much worse than we were back then. And like that's why I think it's grown on me so much and why it's going to continue because it's just like environmentalism stuff like this doesn't. I don't think that you can like educate people enough about this stuff.
I especially liked how he used raccoons too because that's not
and they're not. That's actually that's a translation error in the English. They're not raccoons. They're Tanuki. Tanuki is the mythical. It's actually a mythical creature in Japan.
Oh, okay.
Like they just English they just had to translate it to, or they didn't have to. They could have just kept Tanuki and just mentioned what it was called. But no, they're not actually raccoons. They are like it's an actual mythical creature.
Well, there goes my point.
What were you gonna say though? What were you gonna say though?
I was gonna say it's interesting how he used raccoons because if someone told me they were making an environmental movie in perspective of the animals, I wouldn't have thought of like a raccoon.
Okay. But that's the thing. He does at moments use them as raccoons. Like
they look like. I mean, the Tanuki they're raccoon-like creatures. But they are their own mythical creature in Japan. Like that's why
even the mythical creature was based on a raccoon.
Probably, yeah.
A raccoon with kind of powers, kind of thing.
With shape-shifting powers, yes. Like a werebear.
Big test.
But they do. Yeah, obviously they're supposed to overall represent like just animals, losing the power in nature, basically because of human development.
They're putting a face. He's putting a face on nature that I think, and a very sympathetic one, and one that plays extremely well in my opinion.
Well, I kind of want to mention this before I forget. I watched it with hopefully a future guest soon, Sean, one of our friends, and he made this point where he actually liked them more the design as raccoons versus like when they're just standing up as humans, when they're kind of more four-legged. And then because I was thinking about that, and I was like, it kind of makes sense how because they're having the environment is making them be more like humans throughout the movie.
Yes, that's why
they're becoming less and less like raccoons throughout the movie, right?
Yeah.
Like literally, the one of the reasons they don't want to kill the humans is because of all honestly good
tempura.
the good food they make.
That's
processed
the
food.
only live action shot in the Ghibli movie. That's not the Takahata documentary. Is that shot tempura grilling or frying?
Yes.
Whenever they're talking about killing all the humans.
It's like a SpongeBob moment. Like,
No, I agree with you. I agree with your point though. Like that's one of the main things about this movie and why it hits so hard is because it's literally saying like to survive with humans you have to adapt to become like them. Like that's why people whenever people criticize the Fox and theme park stuff specifically, like that's always what people say can be cut out. But that's the stuff that shows specifically what Takahata wants to get across.
Oh, I like that stuff for sure.
But see, like that, I feel like that's what most people don't like is the theme park stuff and taking the Fox stuff out of it.
Okay, see, that's the thing. I could see, and I maybe agree with that in terms of I would take the theme park stuff out because it would actually make the actual scene or the ending scene where they actually trick the town with the poltergeist kind of with all the ghosts.
Yeah.
That would hit more if they had not done that. They had not already tried to do that.
Yeah.
If the master had come in and like, this is my great idea, you guys haven't even tried this, But we've already seen them try it once with the earlier scene with, and it's not as good, obviously. But and then, the theme park guy takes credit for it right away too. But like the movie would still work to me basically the same if that was not there, basically.
I don't think I don't think you I get like I don't know, you could maybe take it out, but to me it just shows specifically what Takahata wants to get across and saying like we're literally we're forcing animals to adapt to us, to become like, or to like live for us, basically.
Yes.
Like that's literally what he's saying with that, and that's why I don't think you can take it away, in my opinion. I don't know, because, and it's just
but
like...
the ending, but the real ending of the movie gets that point across.
Yes, that's the reason, but that's also the reason
like,
why they go there is because of the master that went to the foxes. Like, he's the one that came with the idea after the foxes told him, like, you should do this because it's the only way to live. Because the foxes said, we all died. Like, all of us are dead, except for the ones that can change
it's a brutal,
so.
like, this is how you know it's, like you said, it might not be a kid's movie.
Yeah.
It's when he's describing all the foxes, like, what happened to all the foxes that couldn't adapt. And he's like, they died.
Yeah.
That's it, Yeah,
because he literally, like, the raccoon, the Tanuki asks, he literally asks, like, what happened to the weaker ones? Or what happens to the weaker ones? And he says,
yep.
we had
basically, they died.
They died.
He
they had to.
Throw back to Grave of the Fireflies.
Because remember, the Tanuki get a very similar. They actually get a death scene of the ones that can't adapt, and it's done amazingly. But it's like bittersweet because because it still hits you hard, but they're celebrating.
No, they are.
A certain way they should be because do they really?
Exactly. It's a very that part to me is a very Buddhist, definitely a very Buddhist send off because they're literally just like if they were set on fire going off into the sunset, like it would literally feel like a Buddhist like a death ceremony basically for that priest would go to. Because that's what at least the master that takes them out on the ship feels like to me.
Oh, I can see that.
Because I just love how everything balls. Because they just stretch his balls into a ship. It's just so fucking great. But no,
yeah.
because that scene is also the scenes where they're the most cartoony. Like they don't look like
moment,
that's why I like the cartoony raccoons also because I just think that's more of their fun-loving side. Like every side has like a purpose that Takahata is trying, and that's why I like all three of those because most animators. This is probably why Miyazaki doesn't like Takahata as a director as much. Also, is because he's very rigid and like strict and has a clear idea for how he likes his movies to be done. But Takahata literally goes from normal raccoons switching to the anthropomorphized raccoons back to the cartoony very anthropomorphized raccoons all in one scene and it's just like
it's all over the place.
It's like he doesn't come from an animation background so I think that's why I just like it so much because he's just trying new things.
But that's
basically.
the thing. In Only Yesterday, it is very strict. Not strict's the wrong word, but it's just kind of straightforward, And the different kind of changes happen feel very natural in the movie.
They do feel natural, but they're done in an extremely good way, interesting
in a good way.
ways.
Only Yesterday. This one, that's what I'm saying. It feels like hit or miss to me, at least.
Only Yesterday feels more focused.
Yes, definitely.
I don't know. I think this one's extremely focused on what it's wanting to talk about.
At the ending, it definitely gets there.
Yeah.
You could say kind of maybe towards.
I don't even think it's through the ending. I love even the moments of just the mysticism, horror short type of moments where they're trying to just scare the townspeople. It makes me wish
Those are great moments.
It makes me wish
Those are great
Takahata did a horror movie too.
Oh,
like,
that
it would have
ghost
been great.
scene, with the
with the
bike.
no face guys.
The guy
dude.
who's originally riding his bike. And
Yeah, the the guy that's
And then
riding
he
his bike
goes
and then
to
the
the
no
gas
face
station,
stuff.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
everyone they meet is no face.
Yeah,
And it's just
that's a great scene.
it's so creepy, dude. like, and then the ghost parade is like also creepy, but also not because the humans are very scared. Like, and that's also another reason why I really love those scenes, is because and why I think it's extremely focused, because that's just another part of like the mysticism is leaving Japan. You know, like they just don't believe in it that much. That's even what the masters say whenever they get back. Like he said, a day if we would have done that parade in our district, just ties in our shrine would have gone up by 5 times. No, 10 times in one day.
That was funny. Yeah.
And it's just showing like, I think he like everything he puts in this is for a specific point of like showing Japan what it has lost and what it has buried underneath all this rapid development, because they developed you could say they had to develop so rapidly because they were in such a dire straits after World War II, obviously. But at what cost is what Takahata is trying to say with this. And it's what he's trying to show, and that's why the ending does hit so hard and so well, is because yes, they've tried like that mass illusion before with the ghost town, but they didn't. Like, this part just hits harder, and I think it actually does hit the humans at least somewhat also, because it's like they all just show them what Tokyo used to be like, you know, and like even the humans are looking out, and like the one lady says, "Is that my grandma?" And then she goes like, "Grandma, grandma," and she goes out and runs toward them. And it's like it's just like so sweet and heartbreaking at the same time, because it's like, yes, this is what we have done to these, like, just nature in general.
What are we losing, like you said?
Like, what are we losing? But even just like we aren't thinking about everything that we're supposed to think about whenever we're expanding like this. Like, we're only thinking about ourselves.
That's a good way to put it too. Yeah.
Like, we're only thinking about ourselves and our own development, and it's only continued like that. You know, like it's still only like that, where we're only thinking about ourselves and not about our future, even like we should be. But
plus, what I kind of like about this movie though is and normally, even in a movie that's trying to make this environmental point, they would make it from the point of view from the humans. But this movie makes it from the point of view of the thing we're losing.
Yeah.
And they do actually lose them. They actually lose at the end.
Yes, they do.
You know,
lose
that's what makes it brutal, and that's what makes the ending with the score we're going to play here at the end after the podcast. But you know, the scene where they all have their one last moment, basically.
Yes.
You know, that's what makes it so brutal, right? It's honestly too hard to think about, but like, imagine if like a certain animal you loved had like it. Okay, people do it where we just think animals have certain personalities, obviously, you know, and maybe we're anthropomorphizing some bit, but like we'll go with it, you know. Like, imagine your favorite animal about to go extinct, and they were having their last like moment of what they would see as their heaven, kind of thing.
Like, just imagine
like,
the pandas, like
or any animal. Like, honestly, a dog though, like. Obviously, dogs are too loved by humans to go extinct.
Yes, exactly. We've domesticated them too much, Nick.
But that's what it feels like, you know. It's like that's what makes it so brutal, because they do lose, you know.
Yes. It's a very Grave of the Fireflies. It's a very Grave of the Fireflies thing.
Like, it makes the whole point stick, right?
Yes.
A lot of movies would be scared to have this kind of ending because it would make it sad. They would be like, oh, like,
it is sad.
Yeah, a lot of they would be like, oh, but the animals still got to survive in their place, and the humans, you know, they had a park or something, you know, like.
And they all lived happily.
Yeah, exactly. And that would make it a classic kids movie.
Yeah.
But but this one makes the point actually land, right? It'll make you stick with you, like, because we are losing a lot of stuff by progress, like you said.
We're losing basically everything. Like, literally, like we could literally lose the world, like, if we continue on. So
at least the humans.
Yeah. Which might be a good thing. Who knows? You know.
From the world's perspective.
No, it's a very Grave of the Fireflies thing, though, for sure, because you know how it's going to end. Like, no matter what happens, this movie starts off, you know how it's going to end because Tokyo exists. You know, like, you know where this is going. You know they're going to lose no matter what. So, like, it's just, and like, we're going to revisit Newtown in the next episode too with Whisper in the Heart, because that one, or Whisper of the Heart, because that one's also set in New Tokyo, or like in Newtown. So
is it similar themes too, or
I can't remember. I don't think it is. I don't think it is. I can't remember though, because it's been such a long time since I've seen Whisper of the Heart. I'm really excited to watch it. But
same themes as Pom Poko.
That's what I was asking. Or just kind of Studio Ghibli in general, because I wanted to mention this before we ended. When you talked about this whole what we're losing kind of theme, it reminded me when we talked about Totoro, with a similar kind of, you were saying what Miyazaki, what was the even theme type, the kind of a...
We are returning to you what you have lost, or what you have forgotten.
Yes, basically, that same kind of theme, right?
Yeah.
Miyazaki's is obviously like the happy side, or at least the more nostalgic side.
Yeah,
at least. It's still bittersweet at moments, but this one is way more like, this is what you're losing, like, directly. Like, that kind of Grave of the Fireflies ending, right? With the last shot.
Yeah, and it hits, literally the last shot of Grave of the Fireflies and the last shot of this are almost exactly, like, I think of them almost exactly alike because he just shows Tokyo, basically.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
And the characters we've been watching the whole time are the ones that die.
Yeah.
You know?
And I mean,
or basically have to adapt. Basically
yeah, they have. Yeah. That's why the ending is so sad, because it's like, literally, you're making these animals like that. That's one of the. That's honestly, I don't know if he's trying to say this, but I think he's trying to tell us with the ending to tap more into our like animal side. You know, like he's trying to say like, stop living like we're not supposed to, like we're living like we're not supposed to, because they literally say that, like the guy said, or the main Tanuki that we've been following around this most of the time says, like, I don't know how humans live like this. It's not the way to live, you know.
No, like, and to me, like, the Tanuki, at least to some degree, represent the maybe more free spirit side of humanity, right? And so, like, this kind of modernization or this progress makes people live a certain way. And it makes them not be able to live kind of this more lazy, relaxed way like the Tanuki live, you know? Because everyone has to, you know, it has to be this 9 to 5, like, super rigid schedule that most people in cities live. Right? Yeah, like... And that's obviously... But basically the whole movie is about how there's no way the Tanuki can live like that. It's hard for most of them.
Yeah,
right?
And there's no way that... I mean, like, there's really not a way humans can live like this either. Like, we're not meant to live like this, and that's what Takahata understands.
At least there are a lot of humans like that.
And Takahata might understand that more than anyone, because he saw how Miyazaki works. So.
Yes.
And Takahata works like a sloth. So.
That's a good point. I mean, people like obviously there's the whole phrase "spirit animal." But like, you could definitely see Takahata as more of the Tanuki, and Miyazaki's maybe more of the fox.
I could definitely see that for sure. Yes. No, but do you guys have any closing thoughts? I mean, this has jumped up from B tier to S tier to me. Like
S-tier,
I think this is like S tier.
Honestly, it might jump up for me on rewatch too.
I like every Takahata movie I've watched this time around, like on a rewatch, has gotten so much better. And it's been about 5 years since I watched all these movies, so I've done a lot of growing since then, and like it makes me excited to watch it in another 5 years. That's all I'll say. You know, like. I'm very excited to continue watching, or to continue to just see how like Miyazaki and Takahata grow on me, because I've been loving both of their stuff even more now than I did before.
And that leads us to when's the last time you saw Princess Mononoke?
Or 5 years ago, probably.
Really? You didn't Princess Mononoke?
I haven't watched Princess Mononoke since then either. I've watched I've watched My Neighbors the Yamadas a lot, which is Takahata's, and I've watched My Neighbor Totoro a lot. But those are like the only two that I rewatch a lot from like Studio Ghibli. So
I've seen Princess Mononoke like 2020, 2021. Like this will be my third year in a row.
Okay.
Gotta keep
that's awesome.
To be fair, it is like my favorite Ghibli movie, but like
So next week we're just going to continue on with Whisper of the Heart, which is actually going to be our first one, not Miyazaki and Takahata. Finally, we're going to talk about I think his name is Yoshifumi Kondo. I know his last name is Kondo. I can't remember his first name is Yoshifumi. But like this is a lot. These next two movies we're doing, Whisper of the Heart and Princess Mononoke, are a lot of people's like favorite Ghibli movies of all time. So it's going to be an extremely interesting and fun episode for sure.
Oh yeah.
And I'm gonna be excited to talk about it, because like we'll talk about
Kondo.
It'll end part one, or early Studio Ghibli for sure. Sadly, we're gonna have to end before Spirit. Oh yeah, we're gonna come back
probably soon, because apparently they are doing a national
Ghibli Fest is happening again,
this fall. So
yeah, this fall we might do it for that.
We'll see.
Sure.
We'll see if we can time it right.
Yeah, that's true.
It might be tough.
It might be tough because it is coming up pretty recently or pretty soon. So.
But I am excited for these next ones.
Yeah, these next ones are two of the greats. So, or I mean, a lot of people consider them two of the greats. Right. I consider one of them great, and I'm excited to rewatch Whisper of the Heart, because I did not. Yeah. It wasn't like S tier for me last time.
Yeah, me neither.
But until next time, we hope to see you floating through the clouds.